Good morning. It's Saturday, August the 9th. I'm Ali Velshi, and I cannot overstate this, and I will keep saying it for as long as it needs to be said. We're in the midst of one of the most dangerous moments in modern American history. It will be studied. It will be written about. It will long after we are all gone. And when future generations look back, they won't just wonder what we thought. They will judge us for how we responded, just as we judge those who came before us. This past week, the Trump White House has been in overdrive, not to govern, not to serve the American people, but to bury the Epstein scandal that threatens to swallow the Trump presidency whole. And in Donald Trump's desperation, he's escalating his campaign of retribution. Here's this week's hit list from the White House of distractions. He directed the military to go after foreign drug cartels, a threat that by every serious national security assessment ranks near the bottom of the list. The sudden ousting of the supremely unqualified head of the IRS, who incidentally was the fifth head of the IRS since the beginning of Donald Trump's second term 6 months ago. Deploying the FBI to locate Texas lawmakers who stand in the way of the Republican plan to control future elections, which is puzzling because no federal law has been broken. Opening an investigation into one of his rivals in the Senate, issuing a federal subpoena against New York's Attorney General for the crime of doing her job and investigating Donald Trump's conduct. This isn't governing. This is the federal government hijacking and repurposed into two things: a damage control machine protecting Donald Trump from the Epstein fallout, and a tool of retribution punishing his perceived enemies. Let's talk about perhaps the most brazen escalation yet of Trump's revenge spree. On Friday, the Justice Department opened several investigations into New York Attorney General Letitia James, the same Letitia James who nailed Trump with more than $500 million in civil penalties over the Trump Organization's fraudulent business practices. There's now a grand jury looking into whether she somehow violated his civil rights or mishandled a Trump civil fraud case and a separate case involving the NRA. Separately, a so-called special attorney has been assigned to investigate mortgage fraud allegations against A.G. James and the Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, another Trump rival. James fired back shortly after the news, calling it a blatant political retribution. Her office issued a statement saying, quote, "Any weaponization of the justice system should disturb every American. We stand strongly behind our successful litigation against the Trump Organization and the National Rifle Association, and we will continue to stand up for New Yorkers' rights," end quote. Her attorney went further, labeling the probe a dangerous escalation and, quote, "the most blatant and desperate example of this administration carrying out the president's political retribution campaign," end quote. Now, this all comes on the heels of the FBI earlier this week apparently agreeing to help locate Democratic lawmakers from Texas who've left the state in order to block the GOP's plan to aggressively redraw Texas's congressional map. It's a gerrymander so extreme that it could lock in a Republican House majority after the 2026 midterms. Trump and his allies are deploying the FBI, not to catch criminals, but to hunt down elected lawmakers for refusing to help Republicans rig the state's electoral map. These lawmakers, let's just be entirely clear here, have committed no federal crime. Their offense is standing up for their constituents' political voice. I also didn't know that you could just get the FBI to do whatever, regardless of whether or not any federal crime has been committed. We have sitting elected officials who are literally fighting autocracy in exile in America. This is not an ordinary day. It marks a dangerous turning point in our nation's modern history. And now Trump is urging Republicans in other states to follow suit and redraw their own electoral maps. By targeting the elected representatives of the American people, those Texas legislators, and an elected attorney general, an elected senator, Donald Trump is targeting American people. The message is clear. You have no say in how your government is run. This is what experts like Jason Stanley call competitive authoritarianism, in which our democratic and electoral processes are reduced to being nothing more than ceremonial relics. The U.S. Justice Department is no longer the U.S. Justice Department. It's Trump's revenge machine, weaponized to settle scores, crush rivals, and protect his own skin. Earlier this year, the administration formed the Weaponization Working Group, intended, they said, to root out, quote, abuses of the criminal justice process. But effectively, it's meant to scrutinize prosecutors who launched past investigations into Donald Trump or his allies. We're also seeing agency purges. All of the mechanics of what Miles Taylor, the former DHS chief of staff turned whistleblower, has been warning about, the revenge presidency. Taylor himself has been a target. Trump recently accused him of treason and ordered the DOJ to investigate him for his now famous, then anonymous New York Times op-ed titled, "I am part of the resistance inside the Trump administration." Taylor warned this week that the dismantling of Democratic guardrails is happening in every corner of the federal government and beyond. He says, quote, "What's unfolded in just 6 months is even more destructive than most envisioned. And it's been wrapped in Orwellian rhetoric unfamiliar to our democracy," end quote. He adds, "Our system of government can withstand a lot. But as the founders warned, it was never designed to withstand a demagogue who commands the levers of party and the loyalty of his party, the levers of power and the loyalty of his party." Which brings me back to my original point. We've entered a truly dangerous chapter in American history. Never before have we seen the executive branch so openly and so brazenly weaponize justice and law enforcement to target the president's political opponents. This isn't just a political spat. It's a direct assault on democracy, on federalism, on the fundamental principle that government exists to serve the people. Miles Taylor joins me now. He served in the first Trump administration as the chief of staff for the Department of Homeland Security. As I mentioned, he's now being targeted by Donald Trump for writing the then anonymous op-ed critical of the president. Taylor is the author of 2 books, including Blowback, a warning to save democracy from Trump's revenge. I'm also joined by our great friend of the show, Lisa Rubin, an MSNBC legal correspondent and former litigator. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being with us this morning. Miles, from what we're seeing in the last week, Donald Trump is targeting everybody, elected officials. He's weaponizing the DOJ. You're saying this is beyond the worst case scenarios that even you envisioned, and you've been a target of Donald Trump's for some time.
I think that's right, Allie. And, this is something that wasn't just foreseeable a few years ago. This was foreseeable a few hundred years ago. I mean, you had George Washington warn that the spirit of revenge, if it overtook our politics, could really corrode and destroy the republic, among other founders. And here we are, we're living it. And the reason I think people are surprised, even the people who had predicted the sky might start falling, myself included, are surprised by how quickly this has all transpired. I mean, I did a rough calculation of the things that I predicted in Blowback would happen as part of the president's revenge campaign. And about 70% of them have already come to fruition in the first half year or so of his presidency. That's a breakneck pace that we didn't anticipate. What worries me is that other 30%, the things he hasn't done yet. And he's starting well down that path of weaponizing things like the spy powers of the United States government and other tools he hasn't used yet to go after his enemies. And we've seen that in just the past 2 weeks with the way he's used Tulsi Gabbard, his director of national intelligence, to go after the Obama administration and Obama officials, the DOJ picking up on that alley and launching a, quote, strike force to go after those officials. And even if none of these people are prosecuted, Allie, I'm living it right now and can tell you the process is the punishment.
This is something I want to discuss with you at a little length, because that's the thing that people don't understand. Barack Obama.
On August 9, 2025, a stark warning aired about a perilous moment in American history, with the Trump administration accused of weaponizing federal agencies to deflect from the Epstein scandal threatening to derail the presidency. 6 months into Donald Trump's second term, the White House is allegedly prioritizing damage control and political vengeance over governance, with actions that could reshape democratic norms for generations. The administration's moves this week include directing the military to target foreign drug cartels, despite their low priority in national security assessments, ousting the 5th IRS commissioner since January, deploying the FBI to locate Texas Democratic lawmakers blocking GOP electoral map redistricting, investigating a Senate rival, and issuing a federal subpoena against New York Attorney General Letitia James for probing Trump's conduct. The most striking escalation came Friday when the Justice Department launched multiple investigations into James, who previously secured over $500 million in civil penalties against the Trump Organization for fraudulent practices. A grand jury is now examining whether James violated Trump's civil rights or mishandled the fraud case, with a separate probe involving the National Rifle Association. Additionally, a special attorney is investigating mortgage fraud allegations against James and Senator Adam Schiff, another Trump adversary. James condemned the probes as blatant political retribution, with her office stating, "Any weaponization of the justice system should disturb every American. We stand strongly behind our successful litigation against the Trump Organization and the National Rifle Association, and we will continue to stand up for New Yorkers' rights." Her attorney called it a dangerous escalation and the most blatant and desperate example of the administration's vendetta. This follows the FBI's role in tracking Texas Democratic lawmakers who left the state to block a Republican gerrymandering plan that could secure a GOP House majority after the 2026 midterms. No federal crime has been committed, yet the FBI's involvement suggests an unprecedented use of federal power to target elected officials for political resistance. Trump is reportedly encouraging similar redistricting efforts in other states, raising alarms about what experts like Jason Stanley term competitive authoritarianism, where democratic processes become ceremonial relics. The Justice Department, critics argue, has morphed into a tool for settling scores and shielding Trump from scrutiny. Earlier this year, the administration formed the Weaponization Working Group to purportedly address criminal justice abuses but appears to target prosecutors investigating Trump or his allies. Agency purges are also underway, aligning with warnings from Miles Taylor, a former Department of Homeland Security Chief of Staff turned whistleblower. Taylor, targeted for his 2018 anonymous New York Times op-ed criticizing Trump, faces accusations of treason and a DOJ investigation. He warns that Democratic guardrails are eroding rapidly, with 70% of his predicted revenge tactics from his book Blowback, a warning to save democracy from Trump's revenge already realized. Recent moves, like using Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard to probe Obama-era officials, signal further weaponization of federal powers. Taylor highlighted the personal toll of such targeting, noting that even elected officials like James and Schiff have some protections, but civil servants, journalists, and dissenters face severe consequences like legal battles, security needs, and financial ruin without charges. He described needing 8 legal teams to handle lawsuits, business losses, and threats from stalkers incited by Trump's rhetoric. Taylor's organization, endpresidentialrevenge.org, aims to support targeted whistleblowers through crowdsourced legal defense, underscoring the abnormality of such measures in a democracy. The broadcast framed these actions as an assault on federalism and the principle that government serves the people. With the Justice Department and FBI repurposed for political ends, the nation faces a turning point, with democratic norms at risk of becoming hollow rituals. The rapid pace of these developments, wrapped in Orwellian rhetoric, has outstripped even dire predictions, leaving observers to question the resilience of America's democratic framework against a leader wielding unchecked party loyalty and power.